Guitar Champion, what's going on? ZEN here back from my practice cave, and welcome to today's video where we are going to rank 10 famous picking exercises from worst to best. Let's start. Having a proper and well-developed picking technique is, I would say, one of the biggest goals and biggest achievement for, let's say 80% of all guitar players that are interested in technical guitar playing. And of course there are tons of licks and exercises out there on YouTube and on books and on online courses. Me, for myself, I created an online course, ZEN of Speedpicking, with nearly 50 exercises for picking technique. But for me, in the last 15 years, since I'm really taking guitar playing seriously, I came across, I would say, 10 licks that often repeats or often played and exercised and showed in a lot of books and a lot of videos. And I have taken those exercises and tried to rank them, because some of them are pretty good for certain reasons, and some of them, I would say, are a little bit overrated, but every kind of guitar player is trying to teach them. I don't know why. So therefore I created this kind of ranking here. But a little disclaimer before the big bashing in the comment section begins. This is my personal kind of point of view on those licks and exercises, and I try to explain why I think some licks are better and some licks are not so good to practice on or to work on your picking technique. And here the focus is not necessarily the musical way. When there is a lick, which is, or an exercise or whatever, which is low leveled in this ranking, but you choose yourself to use this lick in a really good and musical way and sense, then do it. This is the biggest priority. When it sounds musical good, it doesn't really matter if the lick is hard or not hard, or it's a good exercise for picking technique or for sweep or legato or whatnot. Music is not sport, but to achieve certain goals and to get forward and to make progress, I think sometimes it's pretty good to lend some ideas and a little bit of philosophy from sports and put them into music. And of course this video was inspired by a video that I've seen today, which was about ranking the best triceps exercises, for example. So it's totally fine to take this kind of sport idea and put it sometimes into music, and I did this in this video as well. Every lick has his con and his pros, and I just wanted to say that I don't want to encourage everybody here to not practicing certain licks just because I say here in this ranking that sometimes it's maybe not necessarily good for you to practice those licks. Again, when there's a musical purpose for this lick, then use it. But seeing this from a point of view as an exercise, that's something different. This ranking is not necessarily for beginners who have played a few months, and it's not necessarily for shred gods who can play everything. If you want to have the tabs for today's video, then check the description box. There you will find a link where you can get the tabs. And if you want to support me, then subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment and like this video. And if you're interested in the ZEN of Speedpicking, my big online course where I show everything I know about picking, speed picking, about that kind of stuff, then check out the link in the description box. There you will find more about the ZEN of Speedpicking. And without further ado, I would say let's start with the ranking from low to high, and let's start with the lowest picking exercise that I would recommend. Lick number 1, lowest lick, is chromatic fourth. In nearly every book about guitar picking and technique and exercises, this lick somehow appeared from nowhere, and a lot of people are recommending this lick. I don't. I think it's a good lick for warming up. I think it's a good lick for absolute beginners who have just played a few months, but I don't think it's a good lick to improve on your picking. With this kind of exercise, you play every finger, every single finger, but you are not necessarily prepare yourself for other techniques or for other exercises. You don't have the pros of gaining more fretboard knowledge because you are not playing a necessarily scale. You're just playing 5, 6, 7, 8 over all strings. It's not really good for the finger independency, and the biggest issue of that lick is you can't use it in a musical way. Nobody is playing a cool and bluesy solo and all of a sudden this lick appears. No, this is not how you should put a good picking lick or a good speed lick into a great solo. No, no. So there are tons, hundreds, thousands of other licks which are getting you more and more prepared for picking on an easy level, but practicing this one for months and months and months, it leads you to nowhere. No, I would recommend leave that lick, don't touch it anymore, just when you want to warm up, and let's go to the next lick. And before some people are saying here now, oh, but John Petrucci is using this kind of licks in Under a Glass Moon. Yes, I have this lick in the Zen of Speed Picking. I say that is an exception that proves the rule. Try it for yourself. Try to play a great solo and then you get this lick into it. I would say there are not many cases where this really works. This lick for me gets 1 out of 5 Jason Richardson. Lick number 2 is the Spider. And I think when you have played the chromatic fourth, you will also know the Spider. And here I now say, it's good for your right hand, it's definitely good for your cross picking, but again, the Spider shape is something that you're not really using in a musical way, so it has the same problems like the chromatic fourth, but put onto different strings. And yes, I know, Dream Theater, Images and Words, Metropolis, John Petrucci is using it there. Act sections, that proves the rule. I would suggest something differently. I would suggest to play this lick, but not with this weird spider fingering, play it with chords. Play it with a C major chord, like for example on the 8th fret, the 10th fret on the A string, 10th fret on the D string, and 9th fret on the G string. And play around with that. Play it like Steve Morse on his songs Too Many Notes. There you have the same movement for your right hand, and you also can work with chord progressions, you can learn your arpeggios and all that kind of stuff. Putting one finger after each other on one fret is a not really good exercise. So this one gets, because of the right hand movement, 1.5 out of 5 Martin Millers. Lick number 3 is licks where you start and end with the same finger. The problem here is the position shift. Doing this with the same finger when we're going to, or trying to go horizontally on one string, the problem is that the position shift costs a lot of time. And this time loss can resolve into desynchronization between your left and your right hand, because you want to go on with a constant movement in your right hand, but the left hand is not really keeping up the tempo because of the position shift that it has to do. Again, this is a lick that you can use in a musical way. Now we are playing scales, now we can use it with a musical purpose, but for practicing picking, it's just level 3 because of the problems that can resolve into desynchronization. And then all of you are angry about your hand synchronization and you're asking yourself, why is your hand synchronization off? I can tell you why. That's the reason. You can practice the position shift alone. That is a good reason to practice it, but when you want to work on some basic idea and basic movements that are necessarily for a good and developed picking technique, I wouldn't recommend this one because of those problems and those obstacles. And when you create a lick like that and you want to transform it to the next string, it's absolutely terrible. Try to jump in high tempo like 120 BPM, 60 note triplets. Try to jump from the index finger on the E string to the B string. It's completely terrible. No. This is the reason why this lick gets 2 out of 5 David Schneiders. Lick number 4 are the neoclassical fourth. Famously out of the song I See the Light Tonight from Yngwie Malmsteen, I would say the pros of this licks are you can really great outline chords. For example, when you want to outline an A minor, you can start on the 10th fret of the B string, the A, and then you have on the 13th fret with your pinky the C, which is the 3rd of A minor. And then you have instantly 2 of the most important intervals to outline a chord in your picking idea and in your scale idea, the root and the minor 3rd. And in between that you have the second, the relevant second to it, but most important is the root and the minor 3rd or major 3rd, depends on which chord you are playing. And of course you can harmonize it as well pretty good. You can start on the C and the A minor, go up to the E, which is the minor third and the fifth, and in between that you have the fourth. So it's really easy to harmonize for two guitars. It's really great to outline chords with it, like Ingvi is doing I See the Light Tonight. And therefore it's really great. But the cons about this lick is, or the problems about this lick, it's the lazy finger. I always recommend, up to a certain tempo, lift your index finger when you're playing. When I play this lick, I always keep my index finger lifting when I don't need it. This is better for your hand synchronization because you have a movement, or the same amount of movement in both hands. When I have downstroke here, I have a movement here that my index finger goes down. When I keep the index finger on the B string, it can create some desynchronization really fast between the left and the right hand, and you have a lot of pressure putting in between your thumb and your index finger all the time, which can be also really exhausting in a certain way. Lifting your fingers can be exhausting as well, but I say the profits you can get for your synchronization are worth it. But saying that, it's really hard to get this lick up to tempo. I'm always struggling with this lick to really get it that high speedy, but still controlled and with focus on every note, because focus is really important. It's not that easy, really, believe me. So if you're a starter, to build up speed, I would say the next licks are a little bit better. But this one here is good when you want to harmonize some lines or when you want to outline chords. So this lick gets 3 out of 5 Ingvi Malmsteens. Lick number 5 is this 6-note phrase lick. This is my favorite lick to bring something up to tempo. To show students of mine, for example, here you can play this up to tempo, you can play this fast, and to push them to their limit. Because it's really important to always, when you want to gain speed, to be on your limit. There are some great videos about this kind of idea, this chunking idea, from Martin Miller, from Cracking the Code, and even I made a video by myself for it, and it's a really big aspect of the ZEN of speed picking. And this lick is one of my favorites. It's easy, it's simple, but you can use it pretty good to play it up to tempo and to play it across different strings, because we are not starting and ending with the same finger on that line. We don't have to be aware of something which is called two-way pick slanting. We only have downward pick slanting, which makes it a little bit more easier, and I would say for 80% of all players more natural to play it up to tempo. And you can use it easy for every 3-note per string scale shape. So you can use it in a musical way pretty easy. You can build up speed with it. The only con I have, it's a little bit overused. A lot of players are using or playing this lick. Steve Vai is using this a lot as a legato lick, which is another pro. You can use this lick as well, pretty good for legato playing. But yeah, this is still a lick that I recommend to everybody for getting the first glimpse of playing something really fast. So this one gets 3 out of 5 Christian Münzners. Lick number 6 is the so-called Paul Gilbert lick. And it's a lick that Paul Gilbert is doing a lot in his solo style. I know guys like Michelangelo Badio have done this lick before Paul Gilbert in the 80s. In the first Starlicks video from Michelangelo Badio you can see this lick as well. But I would say Paul Gilbert had made this lick really famous. And it's a classical. We have 3 notes on a lower string and 1 note on the higher string. The cool thing about the Paul Gilbert lick is it's from the sound really interesting, rhythmical wise, and from the accent. We can make a lot of this lick. We can do the reverse Paul Gilbert lick, where we have 3 notes on a higher string and then 1 note on the lower string, playing everything descending. We can mutate this lick, as I like to say in my ZEN of speed picking, where we are developing a pretty cool and interesting rhythmical idea out of this, like this. And it's really good to start with the two-way pick slanting, where we are changing between upward and downward pick slanting. The problem here, the little problem here, is which this one is a little bit lower ranked than the other lick which will come, is that we only have 1 note time on the higher or lower string when you're doing the reverse Paul Gilbert lick, where we can change the pick slanting, and therefore we need a certain technique, which is I call the snap movement, because you only have that one movement, that one pick stroke where you can change the pick slant, and you have to do the pick slant change while doing the pick stroke. This can be a little bit tricky in the beginning, but I think it's really worth to check out. This lick is so iconic and I highly recommend to practice it and to do something musical out of it. And therefore it gets 3.5 out of 5 Paul Gilberts. Lick number 7, focused upward pick slanting licks. Upward pick slanting is, I would say, for most of us guitar players pretty weird to hold the pick like this and not like this. We tend to use downward pick slanting in a natural way. I would say for most of the people that I've met, not many of them are naturally upward pick slanting player, which does not mean that you can work on your upward pick slanting. And I say you should work on your upward pick slanting, because two-way pick slanting is really, really important for picking. And if you're asking yourself all the time, what the hell is upward pick slanting, downward pick slanting, two-way pick slanting, then click here on this video. There I've explained a little bit more. And if you want to have more cool lessons and detailed explanation of upward and downward pick slanting, then check out, of course, the Zen of Speed Picking. Okay, now, but there are certain cool ways how you can focus on your upward pick slanting but still play pretty musical picking licks. For example, this one here. And here I simply played the A minor scale, first 3 note per string position on the 5th fret, of the starting on the index finger, playing 3 notes on the E string, and due to the nature of uneven number of notes per string, we have to play upward pick slanting. Now when we would have another string after that, which with an uneven number of note, that would mean that we have to change to downward pick slanting. But when we are keeping an even number of notes on the string, on the following strings, then we can stay with the upward pick slanting. And upward pick slanting is the best way to go from one string to the next string when we are doing alternate picking. So this is a pretty good exercise, and the cool thing about this is, due to the idea of uneven and even numbers on notes per string, where we can now play it more diagonally and doing a position shift on every string after the E string, so on the A string, D string, G string, B string and the high E string. And due to the position shift, we have again 6 notes on a string, even number of notes per string, which means we can keep the upward pick slanting. Great and awesome. Really, really cool lick. I really love that lick. And this is the reason why this exercise and this concept gets 4 out of 5 rusty coolies. Lick number 8 is the so-called Pepsi lick. The Pepsi lick is famous for the old school 80s Pepsi commercial where Vinnie Moore played a guitar lick, which was exactly that, or that concept and that idea. And then with all of the sudden, all the Pepsi licks are splashing up and everyone is happy, and all the teenies from the 80s are happy and everyone is cheering, and the cool guy with the guitar is, of course, the coolest guy in the room. That's how it should be. This is the way. And this is why I call this one the Pepsi lick. In general, it's just basically a 3 note per string lick where we're playing 3 notes on one string and 3 notes on the string above or below when we're playing it descending. And here, this one is, I would say, one of the best introduction in two-way pick slanting besides the Paul Gilbert lick. But the difference is, in the Paul Gilbert lick we have to use the snap movement. Here we have a little bit more time to change our pick slant a little bit more gradually, because you know we have 3 notes on a string and not only 1 note on that one string. We have to change the pick slant direction. And it's a really awesome lick to build up tension in your solo and to lead to the high finale here on the high string and do the bendings and all kind of stuff. You can play this one with 3 note per string scales, you can play this one with 3 note pentatonic scales like Paul Gilbert is doing in his Colorado Bulldog, for example. Highly recommend that lick, and this is the reason why this lick gets 4.5 out of 5 Vinnie Moores. Lick number 9, the stairs. Another lick that all of us probably have heard somewhere, somehow. I think you will know this lick. And a lick that it's often been taught by a lot of players. Not really often I see the reason why you should practice this lick, because the thing with the upward and downward pick slanting is something that is pretty new. And the cool thing about the stair licks is that we have really weird timing when we want to change from upward to downward pick slanting. It's not like in the Pepsi lick where we have to change after every 3 notes. We have 3 notes upward pick slanting, 1 note downward, 2 notes downward, then 1 note upward, then 3 notes upward. It's really confusing, but really worth to check out. It's also sounding pretty awesome. It's a musical phrase that is used for centuries now. Bach, Beethoven and all the classic kind of pieces you have heard the stairs. You can use them with fourths, you can use them with triplets in a row of 3. And if you want to be really fancy, of course, you can use them with 5 or 6 or 7. Like fusion guys like Martin Miller is doing this really often with the pentatonic. So you can use it a lot in a musical way, and due to his nature for picking in the 3-note per string, it's a really good exercise to really get a good feeling and a good awareness about pick slanting and when to change this. And I think when you can focus with a higher awareness on a certain technique, it's easier to get this technique in your kind of second nature, to get this to the point where you don't have to think anymore about the technique. One of my favorites. This is the reason why this lick gets 5 out of 5 Guthrie Govins. Let's check out the last lick with the weirdest name ever. Here is 3-note per string 2-way pick slanting licks, which is played in string groupings of 3. What the hell does he mean with that? Check it out. The cool thing about this idea is not only it sounds really awesome, I love the sound of this kind of phrase and this lick, is we're not only working on our pick slanting really much, our 2-way pick slanting really much, because we have all the time an uneven number of notes on one string, which means we have to change it on every string, but also due to the nature of going 3 strings higher and then 1 string below, and then again 3 strings higher, 1 string below, and so on and so on and so on. We have to start every second string grouping with an upstroke. For example, when we're going from the E to the D string, the last note that we have to stroke is a downstroke, and then we should go to the A string, and therefore we need an upstroke. So we are working on inside picking, we are working on 2-way pick slanting, and we're working to get the feeling to start a phrase with an upstroke, which is really weird in the beginning. But believe me, if you can do this, a lot of the picking stuff that will come in the future, you are pretty well prepared for it. It's really hard and one of my favorite licks, and therefore it gets 5 out of 5 John Petrucci's. But I have a bonus lick, a bonus idea for you, and this is playing a 3-note per string scale just up and down with no repetition in between it. Only playing 3 notes on a string, going to the next string, going to the next string, going to the next string, and this one up and down on a high tempo. Believe me, it's really easy to build up tempo when you have an even number of notes on one string. With that kind of method, like on the even number of notes per string lick that I've told you, you can build up a high amount of tempo in 1 year. I guarantee you that, really. When you're constantly working on it, in 1 year you can play 60-note triplets on 130 BPM, 120 BPM, something like that. To do the 2-way pick slanting, this can be really hard. And this is a lick where I'm still working on it. To grab my guitar in the morning and to be able to play only 3-note per strings up and down with no effort, with no problems, is one of my biggest goals, because it's one of the hardest things to do on guitar, to be honest. And therefore this lick gets 6 out of 5 ZEN of speed pickings. Alright, so much for today's video. I hope you liked this video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, hit the like, leave a comment, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Cheers so far and stay progress. And now comes the ad for ZEN of speed picking. Here we go. Speed picking. Speed picking, alternate picking, is one of the most essential techniques for modern, fluent but still aggressive metal guitar soloing. But we all know the following problems. We want to play fast, but our hand synchronization gets off, we're sounding sloppy, we are hitting a plateau and doesn't even getting fast at all with our right or our left hand. And as a solution for all of these problems, I created the ZEN of speed picking. Hi, I'm Justin Hombach, professional guitar coach and metal musician. And in the Zen of Picking, I want to share all the knowledge, all the experience that I gained after more than 15 years of loving the technique which is called speed picking. So, in the past 15 years I sat down and practiced. Now comes the time to share this knowledge with you guys. Because a lot of my clients and students are coming to me with those problems, hand synchronization, hitting a plateau, getting any faster, want to build speed or stamina, want to be able to create some of the cool sounding modern picking lines. And all of that we're going to face in the Zen of Speed Picking. But what is inside the Zen of Speed Picking? Well, we have 17 chapters full of in-depth analysis of picking technique, two-way pick slanting, string skipping, how we are holding the pick, how is our motion from your right hand, and tons and tons of licks and patterns that you can use as a blueprint, so no stupid grammatical exercises that you can never build up in a musical context. No, here we have licks with the awareness of scales and harmonies and all that stuff around it, and those you can take and put them in your next epic metal solo. But more to come. I'm going to upgrade the Zen of Picking monthly with new exercises and new ideas. Follow this link and you will find more about the Zen of Speed Picking. Now, what you waiting for? Get your ass off and let's start practicing. Boost your picking technique with the Zen of Speed Picking. Here we go. I'm Justin Hombach. I can't wait to see you in chapter number 1, so let's get started with the Zen of Speed Picking. Cheers and stay progress. Bye.